Hello, friends. It's good to be with you. Today I want to have a special word for our graduating seniors. I have 4 children myself, and actually 2 of them graduated this year, one from college and one from high school. And obviously it has been an unusual year for our graduates. They've missed out on, among other things, graduations, senior parties, the last part of the spring semester with their friends. Yesterday at St. Philip the Deacon, we did our annual blessing of our seniors, and I want to just pick up from that and offer a few words again to our graduates. The first thing I want to do is I want to lift up Pastor Valerie's sermon from yesterday. We will include a link to that in this video. I thought it was a beautiful message, including a message to our seniors, inviting you to live out your lives with hope and filled with bravery. We'll also provide a link to the entire service, because at the end of the service, and again, we do this every year. This year we had to do it virtually. We offer a blessing for our seniors. If you didn't have a chance to watch that or to see it or to participate in it, I'd encourage you, even if you don't want to watch the whole service, to go to the end of it and hear a blessing from Justin DeLayden, our high school director of ministry here. So I want to say, though, a few words to our seniors ourselves. And I sort of put these under the umbrella of, I believe that God invites us in this life to live our life as an adventure. That God extends to us, that gives us the opportunity to go out on. And a few points about that. The first is, I do believe that God is inviting each and every one of you to a particular adventure, to a particular calling, or a vocation is the technical term we would use. Here's the problem, though. God doesn't typically shout or scream at us. God speaks to us quietly. And my favorite passage that reinforces that comes in the Old Testament from 1 Kings. This is a famous passage about the prophet Elijah. When he's sort of at a tough spot in his life, and he goes out to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and he's waiting for a voice from God. Maybe you've heard this story, and this is 1 Kings chapter 19, and I will begin with verse 11. Where God says to Elijah, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." And then these famous verses. "Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence." And that's where Elijah heard the voice of God, in the sound of sheer silence, or in some translations it's called a gentle whisper. So that's one challenge for all of us, including you seniors, is that God doesn't shout at us, right? He whispers to us. A problem that compounds that, and I've talked about this before, is that the world is a noisy place. So God speaks to us in a whisper, and there's all this other noise around us. And one of the places I love that reinforces this is from one of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis, who wrote in the middle of the 20th century, so a long time ago, before smartphones and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and whatever the cool people are watching today, all the way back in the middle of the 20th century, when all they had was a radio. C.S. Lewis said, "We live in a world starved for silence. And if we're going to hear a gentle whisper, you need enough silence to hear it." So, I guess the first 2 points are, again, God whispers to us, and we need to find time somehow to find space in our life to try to hear that whisper. And I will say that one of the blessings in this time of pandemic has maybe been that our life has slowed down a little bit to allow us to listen more closely to that voice of God. Now, final thing I want to say is about, well, what is it exactly that God is calling me? I'm speaking about you now, too. Where is God leading you in your life? And as you listen for that voice of God, I would say, listen for things like, what do you love to do? That's important. Listen for what friends and mentors say you have an aptitude or a passion for. Listen to the moments in your life when time stands still. That's a really good sign that you're involved at that moment in something that is God ordained. So pay attention to those things. One of my favorite passages about discerning where God calls us comes from another favorite author of mine. His name is Frederick Buechner. This is in a little book called Wishful Thinking, and it's in the heading for vocation. Vocation is just a fancy word that means to call. And again, as I've been saying this whole episode, it's God calling you, God speaking to you, God saying to you, I have plans for you. Follow me. And the sort of calculus, the formula that Buechner suggests, which I think has yet to be improved on to discern and figure out where God is calling you, is this. The kind of work, this is Frederick Buechner writing now, the kind of work God usually calls you to is the kind of work that A, you need most to do, and B, that the world most needs to have done. And then he says it again in a slightly different way at the end. The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Seniors, we are so proud of you. We do hope you will go out and live lives filled with hope, filled with bravery, and I pray that as you listen to God's voice, you will follow it. Thanks as always for being here. Be well, stay in touch, and God bless. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I encourage you to share it with others. And as always, please remember to subscribe to this channel. God bless you.